So a couple of days ago, we spoke about the Keith Lee situation. And if you haven't already seen that video, I'll give you a very quick recap, but there's going to be a lot more details in that video, so if you want to know the full story, make sure you check that out. But long story short, Keith Lee is a huge TikToker. He's got 14.6 million followers, and all he really does is review food. Now, when I describe it as he just reviews food, you might be thinking, why is he so big then? And I think a lot of it is to do with like his personality, people trust his opinions. He is very honest when he reviews these places. He doesn't do like a paid partnership with the restaurant, and then he just says it's nice when it's not. And I think the biggest reason why people like Keith Lee so much is because he's very humble. This whole situation that we're going to be talking about today all happens to do with the fact that he doesn't want to be treated like a celebrity. He doesn't want to be treated like royalty. He wants to be treated like a normal person, but for some reason that's got him a lot of hate. So he's currently on like a food tour where he's going to like different states and different cities in America, and he's reviewing a bunch of the restaurants there, and he's just recently been to Atlanta. Hello, Mitch. You want to come say hello? There we go. Say hello, everyone. I feel like it's been a while since you've been in the video. Mwah. It has, isn't it? Say hello. You know, one day I will actually teach him where the camera is because he's still very, very confused. But yeah, as I was saying, Keith Lee is recently in Atlanta. He's reviewing a bunch of the restaurants, and it turns out a few of his experiences that he's had in Atlanta haven't exactly been great. Now, Atlanta apparently has had this reputation for a while. Obviously, I don't know because I'm on the other side of the world, but it seems like Atlanta has been known to have a bit of a weird, like, restaurant vibe. Is that what you say? Restaurant community? I don't know what their correct term is, but apparently the restaurants are a bit weird. And this kind of all boils down to the fact that they have a lot of weird rules, but also the fact that they don't treat everyone the same. So for example, Keith Lee would get his family to go in and order some food. They would be turned away and said they wouldn't be allowed to order any food. Keith Lee would then walk in, the people that work at the restaurant would notice that it's Keith Lee. They know his opinion really matters in terms of what people are going to think about the restaurant, so they go to serve him straight away even though his own family has just been refused. Then following this, Keith Lee would say that I don't want to be treated any differently, I'm going to walk away, I don't want to order any food, and he would make a video talk about his experience where he would still be very nice to the restaurant. He would say, look, I don't want anyone to send any hate. If you want to make up your own opinion, go to a restaurant, have the food yourself, then have your own opinion. But he says over and over again in these videos not to send any hate in the single slightest. And this doesn't seem to be an act that he just puts on for camera, because another TikTok user actually recorded Keith Lee when he didn't know he was being recorded, and he was just going to a restaurant casually to enjoy some food. And a similar thing happened where a bunch of people had been waiting for their food for over an hour, but they were just going to give Keith Lee a table instantly, and he said, I'm not going to have any food unless these people have been waiting for an hour, get food first. To which the restaurant actually agreed and did it for him. So it's not something that he just does on camera. This was something that really wouldn't have been in the public eye if it wasn't for a stranger recording. So even though, in my opinion, it seems like all Keith Lee has done over the past like week or so during this whole situation is a lot of good, being very honest and being very nice to strangers, as we've just heard, he's still got a lot of hate. Specifically on Twitter, which really shouldn't be much of a surprise because Twitter is the most negative social media platform. I don't think that's a secret. But he was also getting some hate on a bunch of other platforms and from other like influencers and celebrities. And he's even been getting threats, and his family have been getting threats, and he's had to make a video saying, look, I'm not going to continue doing these reviews anymore if it's putting like my family's safety at risk. And to me, it just seems like people are really blowing this up to something that it doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be a negative thing. Keith Lee's done a lot for small businesses throughout his channel. This is why a lot of people like him. He has ordered food from restaurants that were really struggling, and he's ate it on camera, realized, oh my god, this food is amazing. And because he's made that video saying the food is great, they've had countless amount of people queuing up at their restaurant now, or their takeaway, or whatever it is. Like, he's actually saved a lot of businesses. He's done a lot of good for these restaurants, but at the same time, he's honest. Like, if he doesn't like a place, he's gonna say he doesn't like it. And one person who seems to have a problem with that recently is Chad Johnson, also known as Ocho, as I pronounce it. I think he's an NFL player, hence why I don't know who he is, because I'm not American, right? But he has actually got a podcast with Shannon Sharp, who I also believe is an NFL player. I feel like I'm definitely going to butcher the description of these two people, but I do know they're very big in terms of they're very well known, and they have a podcast where they talk about, like, the NFL, mainly. And they also just had an episode where they spoke about Keith Lee, and let's just say, Chad Johnson isn't exactly a fan, it seems.
You've never gotten the table. Because you Ocho Cinco.
I'm not talking about that. Yeah. And when they do, and you know me, you know how I move, and everybody in this chat knows how I move when I go to restaurants. If you seat me first, you understand what's coming at the end when it's time to tip.
Okay, so straight away he has said he's took advantage of the fact that he can get a table quickly compared to other people in the past, and because of that he tips like way higher, which I think is fair enough. There are a lot of people in the world that if they went to a restaurant and were told they could sit down straight away and not have to wait for hours, they would take advantage of that. So I don't really have a problem with that in itself. He says he tips really high, and I think, like, Someone could correct me on this, definitely, because I'm not completely clued up on it. But I swear in America, the wages for, like, the waiters and waitresses in restaurants is mainly decided through tips. I think the actual wage itself isn't very high, and the vast majority of their wages through the tips. I could be wrong. I just think the tip culture in America is very different to other places, like specifically here. Like, we still tip at restaurants, but it's not the main part of, like, the person's wage or anything. They actually get a wage on top of that. And in fact, in a lot of places, whatever you tip a person might have to go to, like, a shared jar. Like, when I used to work in a restaurant, which was, like, my first ever job, we had to give the tips in and, like, share it amongst everybody, which is a bit shit. But yeah, I think it's very different in America, so if he's giving, like, a much bigger tip, I guess it's good for, like, whoever's serving his table.
I don't like the critiquing of our restaurants and having people and talking bad about our goddamn businesses and
Ocho,
like, what are we doing?
Don't ask me to come to your house and then ask me what I think about it without asking me to give you my honest opinion.
Nobody asked for that.
Straight away, a lot of people did ask for that. Keith Lee's mentioned in a bunch of videos the main reason that he will go to these restaurants, 99% of them, is either because the restaurant has asked him to come and do a review, or like hundreds of people have asked him to do a review of this place. He literally mentioned in the video that I believe was shown in my last video talking about Keith Lee, he said that he very, very, very rarely just shows up to a restaurant and does a review like randomly. Also, it's a bit ironic to me because this is a podcast that critiques like athletes and like their performances, and I get it, right? They were athletes themselves, so they're entitled to. Don't have a problem with them doing that at all. But bearing that in mind, why can't Keith Lee then criticize like restaurants? I feel like it's a very similar thing. Like, do you really need some special qualifications to say if you like a meal or not? I don't think so. I mean, we all eat every single day. I feel like we're all entitled to give our opinions on food.
A lot of these restaurants do DM him, ask him to come, but he wants to go on. A lot of times he wants to go unannounced and give people. That's what he is. He's a food critic. He's turned himself into a food critic. It's okay.
Are we turning this up in resume? What are the qualifications of being a food critic?
Go to a restaurant and do you like the food? Did you like the customer service? What was it like?
I mean, that's a very good answer, right? Like, the qualifications, like, really? Do you need that? I mean, maybe if you're going to be working for some publication, like some big company that reviews food, they would probably want some qualifications and want to know, like, your resume or your past experience with restaurants, I guess. But to have a TikTok account where you give your opinions and if you like a meal or not, nobody's asking for any qualifications. All people want to know is that they can trust your opinion. And even then, your opinion watching the video could be very different to Keith Lee's opinion, right? He might hate a meal that I would love. Which is why he makes it very clear in the videos, like, don't just take my word for it. If you want to make your own opinion up, go and try the place yourself and come up with your own opinion. I'm just saying my opinion.
Go do it at day restaurants and give them the bad press and all the bad...
Ocho.
Yeah, but he's not going into it just trying to give people bad press. If anything, the majority of his videos are good. Like, he enjoys most of the meals. Even in Atlanta, he posted a bunch of videos liking the meals. There were just some bad ones as well. But either way, you get the point of the podcast, right? You get the opinions that's being pushed. Basically, Chad Johnson, or Ocho, I believe it's pronounced, doesn't like Keith Lee's videos, doesn't agree with it. And Shannon Sharp is basically playing like the other side and saying why it's not that bad, and he's putting an argument forward. But after this podcast was released, Keith Lee actually made a response himself.
To me, it seems like you have no idea who I am. And again, that's okay with me. The main point was my qualifications. I'll be honest with you, I've been a professional fighter for almost 10 years. I've traveled the world eating food. I've cut weight from anywhere from 170 pounds to 135 pounds. And food is one of the most important things when it comes to cutting weight.
Yeah, I mean, even without all that, I really don't think you need to have any specific qualifications to say if you like a meal or not, especially if it's for just your own TikTok page. I get it could be a bit different if you're posting it for like some media company and posting it on like an article or whatnot, but posting it on your own TikTok page, just giving your own opinions, why would you need qualifications for that? Because I personally have barely any qualifications in any subjects, really, but with food I have none. But if I eat a meal, I can tell you if I like it or not, okay? I know that much. So I'm sorry, but I just really don't understand that argument at all.
What are your qualifications to have this firm stance on this topic? Because to me, this seems like your first time ever seeing me. And if it's not, again, I have another question. Why is this your first time speaking on me? We've been blessed enough to raise over $40,000 for a restaurant owner who has cancer. We've been blessed enough to be used as a vessel to retire a teacher in less than 24 hours. We've been blessed enough to be a part of keeping multiple restaurants doors open. And all of this within the span of 10 months.
So yeah, I mean, straight away he goes through some of like the goods that people don't talk about. And that's kind of how it works on social media, right? Like the bad stuff is going to be promoted a lot more, and I'm guilty for that too, right? The majority of my videos are talking about like negative topics, which I think is why it is important to highlight these positive ones as well when someone's getting criticized for something when they really just do good.
And let's be honest, I think one of the main reasons of why we're here is because I'm relatable. I'm a customer like everybody else. I pay for my food like everybody else. I don't take anything from these restaurants. No matter how much business comes from any post I make, I don't take any money. If I was to go to school and get all of the qualifications and start talking in big words that not a lot of people understand, would they still come out and wait in 4-hour lines? I don't believe so.
I don't believe so either. And this is the great thing about social media, is because anyone can post, you can get these unbiased opinions. I don't really watch like food review content before I go to restaurants or anything, because trust me, there is absolutely no one in my area making food review content. But something similar that could be used as a good example here is if I wanted to buy a new piece of equipment, right, for my job, like it could be, I don't know, a new computer, new microphone, new monitor, whatever it is. I'm not going to these professional articles that have been written by someone who has went and studied like technology for so long, but is now working for a big media company and could potentially be biased because they've just been given these products for free to go and review. Instead, I have the few tech channels that I watch and have watched for a long time and trust their opinions because I've tested products myself and agree with their opinions. And I just see their videos and I trust their opinion for the most part, even if they didn't have all the qualifications to say that their opinion is 100% correct. And it's very similar with this food stuff. I would definitely trust Keith Lee's opinion, who just makes TikTok videos, over like some big old, like, very detailed paragraph on an article. Like, that's just kind of how I work, and I believe a lot of people do too.
So again, you are completely entitled to your opinion, and so am I. And my opinion is that you should have done a lot more research before you made this firm stance, especially on a platform like yours. I don't go anywhere and just give my unsolicited opinion. You said I should only give positive reviews. The reason I don't believe that it worked, because it'd be inauthentic. And hypothetically, if I was to be inauthentic and you waited in a 3-hour wait time and you got to the front and the food was trash, who you gonna be mad at? The restaurant owner or me?
Yeah, I mean, if he did just do positive reviews, no one would trust his opinion. The fact that he says that he likes a restaurant would have zero effect because people would be like, well, you like every restaurant.
Their total sales was $2,200 for the day.
Okay, so he showed some of the positive videos.
I appreciate you.
Where he pays $2,200 for food.
Y'all, look at the impact of Keith Lee. Look at these cars lined up.
Showing how
This
busy
area
places can
is
be after he's done a
always
review.
Ooh, you got these people attention now? Talk that talk, George.
When you're Keith Lee approved. Yeah, I mean, clearly, just from them clips alone, we can see the good that happens. Like, if Keith Lee likes a restaurant, the business is going to be fucking flying for the next, like, few days, weeks, months, however long they keep up the good food for. And to be honest, I could have some sympathy for the restaurants that get reviewed badly because the food isn't great or Keith Lee just doesn't like the food. But when it comes down to bad customer service, I struggle to have much sympathy for that. If your restaurant has some very strange rules and you treat certain people very differently and your customer service just isn't great overall, then I mean, it's kind of your own fault at that point. Like, you can't be mad that he's mentioned it. Again, the food's a lot more subjective, but when it comes down to bad customer service, I struggle to feel sorry for them.
This is my last time speaking on anything that has to do with Atlanta. I want to get back to the fun, get back to eating, get back to touring, get back to going to good restaurants. I just want to eat food and mind my business like I always have.
And there you go. That was Keith Lee's response specifically to that podcast clip, but also, I guess, to a lot of people who've held very similar opinions and said very similar stuff. And yeah, I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below regarding everything we spoke about in today's video, and also this whole situation just in general, even from my last video. And yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.